closely at this burning cigarette, resting quietly in a heavy glass ashtray on a pristine Formica table. A modern detective looks at this scene and instantly relies on cell phone data, street cameras, and DNA to find the missing homeowner within hours. But in 1954, this single, slowly burning cigarette was the only witness to a completely flawless vanishing. If you are captivated by historical crime stories and the darkest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, you are in the right place. Today, we are opening the physical files on the absolute most terrifying, true, scary stories of the mid-century, an era where a person could step out their front door to buy a newspaper and completely evaporate from the face of the earth. Let's reopen the files on historical true crime that the FBI could never close. Welcome back to the Wayne Archive. Step out of the brightly lit, heavily surveilled modern world and step into the deep, suffocating shadows of the past. When we look at the 1950s, we are constantly sold a beautifully packaged, Kodachrome illusion, perfectly manicured green lawns, gleaming chrome automobiles, and absolute domestic security. But beneath that flawless pastel veneer lay a terrifying logistical reality. It was an incredibly vast, disconnected country. It was a golden era for the perfect crime. Today, we are not looking at famous gangsters or loud public bank robberies. We are looking at the absolute silence of the suburban disappearance. We are exploring the forgotten cases where the American dream was completely shattered by a knock at the door, leaving nothing behind but an empty chair and a cold cup of coffee. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button right now to support the preservation of historical truth. And let's dive into the anatomy of a 1950s vanishing. How do you completely erase a human being from existence without leaving a single microscopic trace of evidence? In the 1950s, the chilling answer was, you didn't have to try very hard. To truly understand why these specific historical crime stories remain permanently frozen as unsolved mysteries, we must violently strip away our modern understanding of investigation. In our current digital age, you leave a massive, glowing electronic footprint with every single step you take. Your car is tracked by satellites, your purchases are recorded on servers, and your face is captured by dozens of high-definition lenses before you even arrive at work. But the 1950s was an era of absolute, terrifying analog anonymity. It was a paper world, heavily reliant on the fragile, easily manipulated memories of human witnesses. Imagine the reality of a 1950s police precinct, when a frantic housewife called the heavy black rotary telephone to report her husband missing from the 5:15 p.m. commuter train. The authorities had incredibly primitive tools at their disposal. There were no national digital databases. Fingerprinting was a painstakingly slow, manual process of comparing physical ink cards with magnifying glasses. If a person decided to completely abandon their life, or if someone decided to forcefully remove them from it, all they had to do was cross state lines, change their name, and pay for everything in untraceable physical paper cash. The sprawling, newly built interstate highway system acted as a massive concrete escape route, allowing predators and runaways alike to simply vanish into the thick fog of the American continent. The 1950s wasn't just a period of economic boom. It was the absolute, undisputed pinnacle of the untraceable crime. The pristine suburban house wasn't a fortress. It was an isolated, highly vulnerable island, completely disconnected from the rest of the world, the second the front door clicked shut. The most terrifying crime scenes are rarely covered in blood. Sometimes, the most chilling evidence of a monster is a perfectly clean kitchen and a heavy cast-iron pot left quietly simmering on the stove. Within the deep, dusty vaults of the Wayne Archive, there is a specific subcategory of true scary stories that deeply terrifies even the most hardened investigators. We call them the interrupted lives. These are the cases that completely shatter the illusion of mid-century domestic safety. Consider the chilling archetype of the 1950s suburban disappearance. The husband returns home from a long day at the corporate office, pulling his heavy steel sedan into the driveway of his immaculate suburban home. The lawn is perfectly cut. The lights are glowing warmly through the floral lace curtains. But the moment he turns his brass key and pushes open the heavy wooden door, he is met with an unnatural, suffocating silence. The house is in a state of perfect, suspended animation. In the kitchen, the heavy, rounded door of the vintage Frigidaire is closed. On the glowing gas stove, A heavy cast-iron Dutch oven is sitting over a low blue flame, the savory smell of a Sunday roast filling the air. Next to the stove, a single, filtered cigarette has slowly burned itself down to a long, unbroken cylinder of grey ash in a crystal tray, proving that the homemaker was standing there mere minutes ago. Her purse, containing all her physical cash, identification, and keys, is sitting completely untouched on the chrome-edged formica table. There are absolutely no signs of a physical struggle. No broken glass, no overturned chairs, no muddy footprints on the perfectly buffed linoleum floor. It is as if the laws of physics simply ceased to exist, and the woman evaporated into thin air while waiting for the gravy to thicken. Did she open the door to a seemingly friendly, familiar face? Perhaps a well-dressed salesman or a trusted neighbor who harbored a dark, violent obsession? Or did she simply walk out the back screen door, walking away from the crushing psychological pressure of the 1950s domestic ideal, completely abandoning her identity to start a new life under a new name in a distant city? Because of the primitive nature of 1950s forensics, the heavy iron pot would eventually boil dry, the cigarette ash would fall, and the case would instantly go completely, permanently cold. The husband would be left sitting in the crushing silence of his perfect empty house, forever haunted by the ultimate historical true crime nightmare, the monster that leaves absolutely nothing behind but a burning cigarette. When we pull these faded manila folders from the dark shelves of the Wayne archive, we aren't just reading old police reports. We are looking directly into the darkest, most terrifying voids of American history. The 1950s gave us incredible prosperity, heavy mechanical tools, and beautiful aesthetics. But it also provided the perfect, foggy landscape for the ultimate disappearances. We can lock our heavy wooden doors and rely on our modern cameras, but the chilling silence of those unsolved mysteries still echoes today. Thank you for stepping into the shadows with me. If you want to uncover more forgotten crimes and explore the terrifying history they don't want you to see, you must hit that subscribe button, leave a warm like, and check out the related true crime documentaries linked below. Until next time, stay vigilant, lock your doors, and never trust the illusion of the perfect